As 2017 approaches the midway mark and 2018 fast approaches, it's time to look ahead at some of the best upcoming PlayStation Vita games. From the debut of massive titles on the system to the release of several long-awaited sequels, the Vita seems primed to deliver a great lineup of titles to enjoy. So before we get into the top 10, I wanted to give a nod to a game that just barely missed the list, since it technically released back in 2014. Velocity 2X Critical Mass Edition is a re-release of the critically acclaimed Velocity 2X, but this time fitted with a suite of collector's items and goodies. Also, it's one of the rare indie games to get a physical release on the Vita in 2017, so if you still prefer to actually keep the game on your shelf as opposed to buying it digitally, you still have that option. In addition to a soundtrack, CD, and making of documentary, the Critical Mass Edition also comes with all the DLC ever released for the original game. If you never got the chance to check out Velocity 2X, I'd highly recommend looking into this one. It'll launch on the Vita on October 3rd, 2017. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the highly anticipated Undertale. After having already seen releases on Microsoft Windows and OS X in 2015, as well as a release on the Linux last year, Toby Fox's role-playing phenomenon will at last find its home on the Vita and PS4 sometime this year. Drawing inspiration from such varied sources as the Mother series, the Mario and Luigi RPGs, bold hell shooters like the Toho Project, and Mr. Bean, Undertale is widely regarded as one of the best games in recent years by such outlets as IGN, GameFAQs, Zero Punctuation, and the Jimquisition, the last of three awarded it the coveted title of Game of the Year. For those who aren't familiar with Undertale's narrative, the basic premise is that you're a child who has fallen beneath the surface of the earth, into the underground. As you attempt to return to the surface, you encounter several different monsters. How you deal with these monsters ultimately changes the course of the game. Think Bioshock, but with a heavier emphasis on RPG elements and a 2D perspective. The game's beautiful, old-school aesthetic will no doubt look beautiful on the Vita, especially if you're still using the version with an OLED screen. Next up is the 6th installment in the long-running Summon Night series, which dates back all the way to the original PlayStation. For the uninitiated, the Summon Night series are a collection of tactical RPGs with a few elements of visual novels. The 6th installment, dubbed Lost Borders, originally released back in 2016 in Japan in celebration of the series' 15th anniversary, and is currently in the process of localization to the West. In the same vein of a sort of soft reboot, Lost Borders is being described as very accessible to franchise newcomers, with a storyline that doesn't rely on established lore. Summon Night 6 marks several firsts in the series, from HD widescreen visuals to new gameplay elements, from simultaneous chain attacks to new summon burst attacks, which play upon the series' signature summon system. The world of Summon Night 6 also boasts several mini-games, from cooking to fishing, as well as a relationship system wherein you can slowly develop bonds between your companions, in the same vein as the follower system from Fallout 4. After having suffered from multiple delays, the most recent of which pushed the title back to its May 2017 release date, Lost Borders is currently scheduled for release in June. Here's hoping the title can come to the Vita and PS4 before the year's end. In the 8th slot, we have Earth Knight, an indie game that is essentially a new take on the runner genre. Designed on a grander scale than most games of its kind, Earth Knight's different levels are all procedurally generated, meaning you'll never encounter the same stage twice. Easy to pick up but difficult to master, Earth Knight's gameplay shifts between a 2D plane, wherein you run along the backs of dragons, and epic skydiving sections. By far the game's greatest quality are its gorgeous, hand-painted art style. In a time when many indie games simply opt for a shell-shaded or pixel art look for the sake of simplifying the development process, developer Cleversoft has clearly put a lot of work into the game's visuals. With no release date set, it's safe to assume Earth Knight will release sometime in 2018. Next up, we have SideQuest Studios' Rainbow Skies. A successor to 2012's Rainbow Moon, one of the Vita's best early RPGs, Rainbow Skies is an independent tactical role-playing game. The title incorporates aspects of several other genres as well, namely dungeon crawlers during exploration. Easily my favorite aspect of Rainbow Skies is its bright and colorful art style, which reminds me of a lot of last year's Dragon Quest Heroes. Like its predecessor before it, Skies' world is full of things to do and places to visit, from bustling towns to murky dungeons. Rainbow Skies is primed to be one of the most in-depth RPGs ever to be released on the Vita, combining gameplay mechanics like tameable and breedable monsters, upgradable characters, side and treasure hunt quests, a wealth of optional and endgame content, and a breadth of customization to dig into. As development continues, new features continue to be revealed, and it's only a matter of time before SideQuest's long-awaited Rainbow Moon successor finally releases. Over the course of the last 7 years, the Danganronpa series has slowly gained traction, largely due to the massive following it received from Vita gamers. This September will mark the release of the third main title in the series, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony, in North America. As in previous Danganronpa games, the gameplay of V3 is split between Persona 4's school life and class trial segments, the latter of which finds you using truth bullets to determine whether someone is lying or telling the truth. Or alternatively, you could use the lie bullets to break conversation with a false counter. Aside from returning features like rebuttal showdowns from Danganronpa 2, V3 adds some new features to the mix. Finding the correct statement in class trials is going to be considerably harder now that mass panic debates exist, which essentially means multiple characters can take over one another in the middle of a trial, while debate scrums pit groups of characters against one another in arguments. Additionally, there's a suite of new minigames to keep the gameplay fresh. It's been awesome to see what I look at as a Vita-centric series grow into something of a phenomenon, especially in Japan, where the game's already sold over 100,000 copies on the Vita, which is pretty crazy by 2017 standards. These games have always stuck out to me for their dark comedic elements and high school aspect, which I found really endearing. I haven't played a Danganronpa game since the original, but I'll be more than happy to dive back into the series when V3 releases on September 26th, 2017 in the US, and September 29th in the EU. Next up, we have kind of an unconventional game, Windjammers. For the uninitiated, Windjammers was an old Versus-type arcade game that came out all the way back in 1994. The game basically controls the same as Pong or air hockey, as you attempt to shoot discs into the opposing goal. Easily the most exciting aspect of the Vita port is that it'll actually have online multiplayer, a feature that was missing in past iterations. Because, you know, it was an arcade game and all. There really aren't a whole lot of fun old-school multiplayer games out there on the Vita. Don't get me wrong, I love games like Killzone Mercenary and Borderlands 2, but there's something about Windjammer's bright aesthetic and just generally upbeat tone that remind me of really fun games like Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform, which I used to love playing on my Vita. Oh, and if you're a competitive gamer who needs an esports fix on your Vita, Windjammer seems primed to bring a lot of tournaments to compete in. When the original Demon Gaze released exclusively on the Vita back in 2014, it was widely regarded as a solid dungeon crawler, boasting a rewarding progression system and fun, challenging combat. However, the game was held back by its plain visuals and simple premise. Hopefully these issues have been remedied in its long-awaited sequel, which will release on both the Vita and PS4 later this year. In a similar vein as Persona 4, the game blends combat with relationship building. Admittedly, while Demon Gaze 2 doesn't look like too much of a step up from the original, if the game at least manages to recapture the first game's fun and addictiveness, then this could be a fine game in its own right. The Ys franchise stands as one of the most popular JRPGs in modern gaming. After the success of Ys Memories of Celceta and Ys Origins just earlier this year, Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana stands as the third title in the series to be released on the Vita. After awakening shipwrecked and abandoned on a cursed island, you, along with other survivors, begin to explore the island. As you do, new revelations are slowly made, as you begin to understand what exactly is going on. The premise itself was enough to sell me on Ys 8, especially considering how great Memories of Celceta was. This will definitely be one to look out for when it releases on September 12th, 2017. If there's one genre that works exceptionally well on the Vita, it's rhythm games. In the past, games like Project Diva and Persona 4 Dancing All Night have proven to be some of the best Vita games in recent years. Thankfully, more is on the way, with Atlus just recently announcing that not one, but two successors to Dancing All Night are on the way in the form of Persona 3 Dancing Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing Starlight. With a library of Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and soon to be 3 Persona rhythm games, the Vita will soon be possibly the definitive platform to experience this great series on. And ending our list in the number 1 spot is Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory. As the highly anticipated follow-up to 2015 Cyber Sleuth, a game that in a way served as the Vita's own version of Pokemon, Hacker's Memory shares several locations and elements seen in Cyber Sleuth, though it also boasts a brand new storyline and a wealth of new creatures to collect. Played from a third-person perspective, Hacker's Memory is an RPG where you effectively collect Digimon and pit them against the Digimon of your rivals. The narrative essentially serves as the backstory to the plot of Cyber Sleuth, with the main character joining a hacking organization after being the victim of identity theft, thus the title. The game features some 320 Digimon to collect, all of which starred in the beloved animated series. With fun, turn-based gameplay, an addictive cycle of capturing, training, and competing, and beautiful visuals, Hacker's Memory stands as one of the Vita's most ambitious upcoming games. I hope you found this brief look at some of the most exciting upcoming Vita games entertaining. For more PlayStation Vita updates, reviews, and countdowns, please support the channel by subscribing and leaving a like. Is there a game I missed? Please let me know down in the comment section and I'll add it to the honorable mentions. Here's looking forward to a great 2017 and 2018 for Vita gamers. Thanks for watching.